Being an early game player in Bee Swarm is nice, but it's also where you can make some of your first mistakes. Yeah, I see a lot of early game players mess up big time with some of these things. So today I'm going to be giving you guys a complete early game guide, starting off with your first mythic egg. Now, as an early game player, I'm sure you want mythic bees so bad. You want a hive that looks a little something like that. Oh my gosh, the macro hive is real. But a lot of early game players make mistakes on attempting to get their first mythic egg. Some of you guys might be currently saving up for the mythic egg that's in the ticket tent. I must now say, please do not buy this. That is a huge scam. 2,500 tickets is something you should never be paying for this mythic egg, because you're much better off spending those tickets on all these event bees. So if not that, then how actually do you get your first mythic bee / mythic egg? Well, there are currently two really big methods. Mondo Chick, however, is not one of them. Please don't go to servers begging pros to help you with Mondo Chick. The chances of you getting one are like less than 2%. The first best way to get your mythic egg is actually going to be from Commando Chick. Just equip the scissors or clippers and clip through the vines that will be right here for you. After that, go into Commando Chick's lair, and after defeating your Commando Chick 50 times, it respawns every half hour, by the way, you will be rewarded with a singular mythic egg. Now, when you do this, your Commando Chick is going to reach like level 14, and you cannot defeat that on your own, because as a beginner, you probably have like a level 7 hive. So I recommend hopefully getting some professional friends or asking people around the server to help you. Please be polite, say please and crap. You do not want to be a stereotypical blue backpacker. Oh, would you look at that? He's broken. Anyways, you're probably wondering what the second method is, because I said there are two. We're moving on to the next really important tip in just a second, but I have to cover the Bee Bears catalog. Now, if you're not playing during Beesmas, this doesn't apply to you, but when Beesmas comes every single year, you want to buy the mythic egg from the catalog. My gosh, if you want a mythic bee, this is a very good way to get one. All it takes is a bunch of macro, get a ton of snowflakes, and boom, you're all good. Now, speaking of getting good, how exactly are you supposed to do that? Progressing in early game is kind of easy, but you might be wondering exactly what you're supposed to do. Well, there's a few things. First off is the mythic meteor shower. This is actually one of the most important things to you guys. This thing can give you millions upon millions of honey. The honey you get from mythic meteors is determined entirely on how many bees you have. So essentially, the more bees you have, the more honey you're gonna get from this. You can use this honey to buy the golden rake, to save up for the porcelain dipper. If you didn't know, by the way, please do not buy the spark staff. It is the biggest scam known to mankind. You might as well just shovel money into a furnace. It is that bad. But your main priority, besides asking professionals for mythic meteor showers, once again, please be polite, should be getting bees for your hive. Not only does this let you make more honey in boosting and get more honey from mythic meteors, but it'll allow you to unlock things such as the 35 bee zone, which has a whole ton of special things behind it, like the wind shrine, the nectar condenser, coconut crab, and spirit bears quests. Now, the 35 bee zone actually leads us perfectly into our next tip, which is going to be the petal belt. Now, a lot of people wonder what they're supposed to do with their spirit petals, and while this technically is more mid-game, you will end up getting your first spirit petal at the end of early game. So you should know that it's actually insanely good for you to be getting the petal belt. I know you might want the petal wand because you're impatient and you want to get something, and my goodness, it is a lot cheaper than the petal belt, but believe me when I say the petal belt is so much better. And while the petal wand is decent, you can survive with the porcelain dipper just fine. I'll go more into depth on spirit petal order in my mid-game guide, but for now, all you need to know is that your first spirit petal should be used on the petal belt. Now, this next tip is actually going to help you progress faster than ever before. Probably one of the most important things on this video. But I very quickly have to say once again for the petal belt, but I very quickly do have to butt in and say, please also save your star jellies. You don't have to go all out when it comes to saving your star jellies. You can use a few, but once again, just keep in mind the petal belt does take 25 of them to craft, which do not come very easily. Although if you are in need of some, you can get some from, once again, mythic meteors, Mondo Chick, and your coconut crab. Now, there are still a ton of tips left, but now we get into the most important tips of this video. Starting off with number 1, macro. This is probably going to help you out with every single other tip I've said previously. This doesn't have to be too crazy, might I add, but if you're an early game player right now and don't know what macro is, I highly recommend you look into it. But macro is essentially this program that grinds the game for you. That way, if you're not online playing, something else is. Don't worry, it is completely safe. You cannot get banned from this. Tens of thousands of players use this. I promise you it is safe. But definitely look into macroing. This can help you get a ton of honey. It can auto grind all your mobs for you and collect all the free loot. It can get you a ton of free stingers, so that way you can get a vicious bee fast. I mean, hey, how do you think I got almost 4,000 stingers? It's from macro. It can also do a ton more for you, such as auto do your quests, but that will be saved for later. Now moving on to our next tip, which is actually a mistake a ton of early game players make. Because right now you're in early game and there is so much to unpack in Bee Swarm. There's so many new mechanics, and so I'm gonna take take some stress off your plate right now and say there are 2 things you are not supposed to worry about right now. Number 1, if you're early game, don't worry about bee quips. These are good, but as an early game, they don't provide too much of a buff. So for now, don't worry about bee quips. You can worry more about that when you reach mid game and end game. The same thing also goes for stickers. Please do not worry about the stickers. Gosh, there is so much. I could talk for an hour on these stickers. So do yourself a favor in early game right now and just don't stress about it. Until you learn sticker values, I don't recommend trying to trade too much or donating to your sticker stack just because you want to make sure you're doing all the right things with your stickers. But while stressing about stickers and bee quips won't hurt you too much right now, there is one thing that will. I kid you not, if you make this mistake, you are setting yourself up for a miserable time. And that is hive colors. Everyone always wants to choose a hive color. Do you want to be a macro blue hive that makes billions macroing? Do you want to be a red hive that does so much damage and makes honey? Or do you want to be a highly sought after white gummy hive, which makes it onto the leaderboards? The answer is, it doesn't freaking matter right now. You are an early game player. The whole point of early game is getting an intro to the game, getting a feel on all the mechanics, learning how to play. Hive colors are for end game when you're more experienced. You might say, well, oh, I can just prep a little right now. I'll get a bunch of blue bees in my hive and then buy the bubble mask. You really don't want to do that, because until you get the Supreme Star Amulet, having a hive color is not important. If you try to be a hive color in early game or even mid game, you are not going to make that much honey, and it's going to make all of your quests a lot harder to do. It'll be harder to get your mythic egg from Black Bear, and it's going to be harder to get your translators. So while you're in early / mid game, just please stick with being a mixed hive. They're honestly pretty great when it comes to early game. Now, next up is actually a huge mistake I see nearly everyone who has ever played Bee Swarm make, and that is the problem with your fruits. Now, of course, you're early game. You want to level up your bees. You don't want crap bees. So, you know, you use a couple of your treats. I know you guys aren't popping these kind of numbers, but you know, you just feed the treats. And then you think, yeah, let me feed some of my pineapples as well. No, you do not want to do this. Now, regular treats are totally fine to feed to your bees. The ones you don't want to feed are sunflower seeds, strawberries, pineapples, and blueberries. Now, that's not to say you can't do this ever. Obviously, if you're on a mother bear quest that requires, say, 25 blueberries to your bees, go ahead, you can do it. You actually need that in order to complete the quest. What I'm saying is, don't do it to level up your bees. That's because later when you reach mid game and especially end game, you're going to unlock the blender. The blender helps you get a ton of end game items and materials, but the thing is, it requires strawberries, blueberries, pineapples, and sunflower seeds to use. And a lot of players end up wasting all of their fruits in early game, so by the time they get to mid game, they're broke. Avoiding using these is going to save you a lot of pain and a lot of sprouts in early game. Trust me, I actually ended up doing this tip when I first played Bee Swarm Simulator, and this was the tip that let me get better at the game faster than all my friends. I'm not even joking with you guys. It is that amazing. Please do not waste your fruits. Now, if you follow all the tips I've said so far, you're gonna make it to mid game pretty dang fast, which is why next up, you're probably going to need a mid game guide, which I am going to be posting on this channel in a couple of days. So if you don't want to miss the ultimate mid game guide, which is filled with even more mistakes I see a lot of players make, you don't even have to subscribe. Just hit the bell, as it's way more effective and you'll be notified as soon as I post that video. So thank you so much for watching, Bee Swarmers. Have an amazing rest of your day, and I will see you all in the next video.